Ready, guys. What's going on? Welcome into another edition of the Giants Brawl podcast. I'm your host for this evening, Usaid Culture. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Usaid Culture. We have your Giants experts in the house today, and Anthony Rivardo and Mike Trainer. Follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Rivardo. He's super sore from playing football all day, trying to do his best Darius Slayton impression. Mike's here too. He's like, what, 4 beers deep, dude?
4 beers deep already. Let's get it.
Yep, just like that. Follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Trainer MFT. If you're watching us on YouTube, Barkley's in the house as well today. He was trying to take Mike Stella the other day. How did that pan out, dude?
Yeah, he got a little taste of it. So now it's a wrap, man. I gotta fucking lock my fridge.
All right, so obviously, guys, we're gonna get right into it. But before we do that, let me just remind you all that you know how we've consistently preached that whatever we say the Giants organization ends up doing. If you listen to last week's episode, you can find on iTunes, Spotify, wherever, we argued about what's better, New York or Chicago style pizza. And then 48 hours later, when the schedule was announced, what did the Giants organization do? They used a GIF of pizza to announce that the Giants were going to be traveling to Chicago in week 2. So this further proves that someone's listening, man. Someone's listening.
Holy
Can't
shit.
be a coincidence, man. Can't be.
Yeah. All right, so obviously, guys, we saw the Joe Judge press conference today. People were, like, tweeting stuff out, like all the beat writers. I'm pretty sure Art Stapleton said something, but he said something like, oh, yeah, the Cowboys or the Giants offense is going to be very similar to what the Cowboys kind of ran this or like the last couple of years. And I think it makes a lot of sense because they invested heavily in the offensive line. Cowboys have done that for so many years. They've had a good running back who's basically carried the load, and it's allowed them to rest the defense. So, Anthony, I'll start with you. What do you kind of make of those comments?
I think obviously there's not going to be any carryover from Pat Shurmur's offense, and I'm really happy about that, and I think we all are because we were all really fed up with Pat Shurmur's offense. I think it was really stale. It lacked creativity, and, he was just a very inconsistent coach all around, and I'm pretty happy that it's going to be a lot like Jason Garrett's offense with the Cowboys, but I hope that it's more like the new Jason Garrett offense with the Cowboys, where it has a lot more Kellen Moore mixed into it because he really loved to get that play-action passing game going, and that's something I'm a huge fan of because I think Daniel Jones was really good on the play-action game last year, so I think that's the way to maximize his potential is you get the play action going with a really heavy run first offense and Saquon Barkley. And I think, the Cowboys offense is, if you take that model from the last few years, it's basically the perfect model for the Giants going forward.
Yeah, I agree. That's all it is, man. It's all it is really. They're saying Dallas, offense. Basically, it's all just a running game. They're gonna run the shit out of the ball. Barkley's gonna have a monster year for fantasy football purposes too. Deion Lewis is probably going to get in the mix at the time. So you're going to see him running the ball like crazy. The only difference between the Dallas Cowboy offense and this offense is, like, we got a quarterback that can hit the guys down the field on play action.
Yeah, I will say my biggest kind of, so I like the way that they're kind of building the offensive system around the skill of the players, which is the smart thing to do anyway. But I will say this. One thing I'm worried about is that they rely on Saquon Barkley and what's expected to be a solid defense too much to the point where when Daniel Jones does have to step up and make a play with 2 minutes to go, he's not able to do so. Let me just say that's not me doubting Daniel Jones' ability. I'm just saying we've seen examples of teams like the 49ers are a perfect example. When first off, they paid Jimmy Garoppolo $127 million, right? And he just didn't get it done in the Super Bowl. And they basically rode their good defense and a good running game to the Super Bowl. I don't want Danny Jones to be in that same situation. I want him to be able to step up and make plays when needed. I know Joe Judge has come out and praised Danny Jones. I think that, yeah, he can be solid. But we're still a year or two away from him truly being able to carry a team. So for now, you got to continue to have this well-rounded roster around him.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Daniel Jones, as a rookie, have 2 games where he threw 5 touchdown passes in each game?
He had one against the Redskins, right?
I think he had one where he threw 5, and then he might have had another one where he had 5 total because he ran few. I don't know. I know he had 4 against the Bucks, but I don't know if there was another one with 5.
What kind of rookie does that? Is this guy the truth? Is he legit? Is he gonna come out and just set fire?
Dude, I think he's legit, but like my kind of one red flag I have with him is he's going into like year 2, but he's going into like a new offense and a new scheme and everything, and you kind of have to factor that in. That's not me saying he's gonna suck, because some Giants fans will say like I'm saying Danny Jones is gonna suck. He's gonna be good, right? He was worth that 6th overall pick, but like still, there's still a long way for him to go from like year 1 to year 2 to like true franchise quarterback. Because let's be real, when we look down the road, you're gonna have some tough contract decisions to make, and quite frankly, like there's certain guys like Jabril Peppers, which you're gonna have to let walk. And you're gonna have to figure out a way to replace those guys. And from that point onwards, I'd say like probably 2022, 2023, like Danny Jones is gonna have to carry the load.
There's no red flags for my man Daniel Jones. The only flags he's gonna see is the yellow ones coming out for defensive pass interference goals.
Yeah, well, this is just Mike being a homer. Speaking of which, Eagles fans were in my mentions today because I roasted Darius. I roasted Darius Slay, and I got into a fight with an Eagles fan too in the GameStop parking lot.
Wow! If you need backup, man, you know who to go.
Bro, I was waiting for curbside, dude. I was waiting for curbside pickup, trying to pick my stuff up, and this dude had an Eagles hat on, so like that pretty much confirms he's an Eagles fan. Because like, why would you wear another team's hat if you're not their fan, you know? And like, I'm literally waiting 5 minutes, waiting for this guy to go, so I can call the dude inside to bring my game controller out. And like, he was taking forever. So I had to roll the window down. I was like, "Yo, get it moving." I'm pretty sure he would have thrown a battery at me, but whatever, you know.
Listen, I keep him. That wear those hats that are not an actual team, they wear it to like match their outfits. Listen, they're probably people that have like posters of Elton John in their room. You know what I mean? So screw those people. Where you support your team, you don't support other teams.
Yeah.
Just because it matches, that's ridiculous.
I don't know, dude. Obviously it was probably shouldn't have been as rude to him as I was, but again, like if you're wearing that ugly of a hat, you deserve it, you know?
Sure it does.
Yeah, but back to my original point and getting back on topic, like I think just overall the offense, when you say like, okay, it's gonna be kind of like the Cowboys, I expect to see heavy tight end usage. I expect to see some like Patriots offense mixed in there. That means like, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, that's 21 personnel, some 12 personnel with Ingram and Caden Smith. I think you gotta use 12 personnel heavily. Because you're going to have the linebackers and safeties focused on the tight ends, which is then going to free up Darius Slayton to run all those short and intermediate routes and really get the yards after the catch going. I think this is going to be an offense where it's going to be a combination of Dallas and of New England, but more so of Dallas.
I think it's going to be a lot more Dallas than it is New England. I think maybe Jerry Shaplinski will have some influence and maybe bring in some New England over, but I really think that when you see that it's Jason Garrett's offense, Mark Colombo is the offensive line coach, plus you've also got Cooper Rush is now a backup quarterback, so it looks like it's going to be a lot more Dallas than New England. I think where you're going to see a little more New England than you might anticipate is on the defensive side of the ball. Patrick Graham is a former New England coach, former actually now Dolphins coach, and now he's our coach. Former Packers coach as well, but I think his scheme borrows a lot from New England, and obviously Jason Garrett's offense is basically just it's the Dallas Cowboys offense. So I don't know if I anticipate seeing a whole lot of New England in the offensive side of the ball.
You might see it on maybe like a lot of screen passes they do, a lot of outs, like you said, like with the tight end, the 2 tight end set. I agree with you there. I see a little bit of that. But, man, they're just going to run the ball down people's throats. So, watch out for this offense.
I'm telling you guys right now, with the way things are going, I think Saquon is going to end the year for fantasy purposes. And we'll get into fantasy like when draft season gets closer and whatnot. But I think Saquon will be running back number 1. I think he's going to unseat McCaffrey just because Carolina, everyone's expecting McCaffrey to be RB1 right now. They paid Teddy Bridgewater whatever, it was like $60 million over 3 years. That's $20 million, like roughly a year. He's gonna have to live up to potential and make a couple plays here and there. So Saquon's gonna end up as RB1. Moving on, though, we know we record every Tuesdays, guys. Episodes drop Wednesday morning for you. Follow us on social media at Giants Brawl. That's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You know the schedule released last Thursday. All right, we broke the news first that the Giants were going to be playing the Bears in week 2 because I had the Bears source, and then all of a sudden the rest of Giants Twitter kind of copied and didn't give us any credit. But then the Giants backed us up by using the pizza gift. Now, I looked at the schedule, and I'll be real, like the first 2 games, you're at home against the Steelers, so you're facing TJ Watt and like Bud Dupree in a solid defense. They're going to get Big Ben back. Then you're going on the road on a short week because you're playing Monday and then again on Sunday to play the Bears, who they had an injured defense last year, but still ended as one of the top like units in the league, and that was with Khalil Mack playing with back and neck injuries. Those are 2 really tough games right there. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think it's a really, really tough schedule. Nearly every single team that we play against is a playoff potential team, and that's obviously pretty frightening in a way. But you know, I'll give my record prediction real quick, and then you guys can each give yours. I know Mike's is going to be 16-0,
Exactly.
and I would love if that were the case. Yeah, but realistically, I think really when you look at this schedule, it's really tough. I'm gonna say 6-10. I do think that there's winnable games on this schedule. I just think, I mean, you start with the Steelers. They could definitely be a playoff team. The Bears, I don't think they're a playoff team. Usaid will probably disagree. The Niners, they're coming off of the Super Bowl loss.
Let me say this much about the Bears. They'll be a playoff team if, and this is me being a homer, right? They'll be a playoff team if the quarterbacks can get their thing figured out. Granted, I still think that their defense will carry them to the Super Bowl, but I think really if they're like a legit playoff contender, like past the wild card and past like the divisional round, if they're gonna get to the divisional round, it's gonna be good quarterback play. That's my verdict on the Bears for 2020.
Right, but good quarterback play. It doesn't exist in Chicago right now. So.
Nick Foles, bro. You beat the Giants 5 times, bro.
I hate Big Dick Nick. I hate that guy.
Yeah, because
he's better than Mitch. Like it's night and day, man. Like Mitch had his chance. He's not getting any better. He's not grow. They didn't get his 50-year option. They declined that, so it's a wrap for him.
I don't know, dude. I've heard from people like his high school coaches, dude, his college coaches, that the last time he was not like he was seriously pushed, he like lit the world on fire. So I'm interested in like seeing this version of Trubisky. But back to the schedule, right? That first game, with the Steelers getting a healthy Big Ben back, I think like he is going to be a bit rusty. But like you got to give it to Mike Tomlin. His defense is always going to keep him in the game. And if anything, like you look at the first 6 weeks, so they're playing the Steelers defense, then the Bears defense, then the 49ers defense. After that, they play the Rams and Aaron Donald. Then who do they got next, dude?
They got the Cowboys. So this is a really interesting part of the schedule next because they play, I think, 5 of their next 6 games are divisional opponents. They go Cowboys, Redskins, Eagles, Buccaneers, Redskins, Eagles. So that's like almost unheard of to play that many divisional games in such a short period, but that's a really tough and really crucial part of the schedule because if they can pull, if they could sweep the Redskins in that span and get 1 win out of the Eagles and 1 win out of the Cowboys, they'll be in really good shape. It's just whether or not they can actually do it.
Yeah, I was going to say that like starting week 5, which is October 11th, all the way to week 10, which is November 15th. That's a 6-week period right there where basically you're playing all your divisional opponents, and then you don't see the Cowboys until January 3rd, which is week 17 this year. So like anyway, getting back to this like breaking it game by game, Mike, what do you just think? Because like you've been kind of quiet.
Well, the schedule is tough, like everybody's saying, on paper, of course. I mean, look at the teams they got to play. I always say the Giants got a young team. They're going to have to grow up fast. And maybe they shock the world. They prove that they belong. The young, in the NFL, the young players, they get it done, man. It's not always not always the veterans that go out there and win everything. So if they come together as a team, you know, like Andrew Thomas, if he's the stud and he plays well against these top rushers, man, especially the first 6 weeks. Like if he, you know, flattens a guy and pancakes a guy, that crowd is going to go absolutely ape shit if he sends somebody to the ground. And if that happens, forget about it. If that happens like the first couple plays of the year, forget about it. That'll set the tone for the whole season.
Yeah, I think like looking at the first, what is it, like 5 or 6 weeks, you are essentially really testing your new offensive line. So this like new schedule, it's gonna be good. The super hard games first, because you'll get to test your offensive line. We'll get to see like if Andrew Thomas was worth that immediate fourth overall pick. Obviously, he's gonna be compared to the other three guys that people had going in the top 10 in the draft. I think this is a good opportunity for us to see if Nick Gates can belong too. So really just everyone's going to be tested across the board. Now, let's get into like a kind of week 3 preview. I'll be real, I don't believe in the 49ers or the Rams just because these are the last two teams that went to the Super Bowl from the NFC. And they pretty much, like, the 49ers wrote a good defense, and they got rid of their main piece, which was DeForest Buckner. But basically traded him, but kept like Eric Armstead and Jimmy Ward. That was a stupid move in my opinion, even though like they got Javon Kinlaw. It always takes a first round guy to grow into the league. The Rams you look at, they got like basically Aaron Donald and everyone else at this point because the defense does not scare me at all. And then you look at the offense. Well, they got rid of Brandon Cooks and Todd Gurley. Who are the reasons they went to that Super Bowl? Jared Goff hasn't shown that he can adjust. I think those first 4 games, you could potentially see the Giants come out in 2-2, which I think would be like the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, though, is obviously like 0-4 or 1-3.
4-0. I mean, they'll be 4-0.
Yeah, that's the moment they drop one of those first two, your prediction's gonna be completely wrong. And it's not me being a Debbie Downer for all our listeners. It's just me trying to be realistic, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to be like realistic and live in the real world. I don't, obviously, when I'm in Giant Land, in Giant Heaven, where everything's fucking great. We just listen. If we come out and this guy coaches well and have like a training camp, which I'm desperate to see, man. We need a training camp to get this group together. I mean, all these Zoom meetings and shit ain't gonna cut it. They got to get in the room together and play. Come together as a team. So, I mean, you never know. We'll see how they start off. If they protect the quarterback and they run the football, sky's the limit for this team. You just never know. At any given Sunday, man, like I always say.
Yeah, this is certain because this is like the NFL's. Well, so I tweeted a tweet today saying like what would you rank like the most wide open division to the least wide open. I obviously put the NFC East at first because like you don't know who's gonna emerge. I know like Dallas had a good draft. Eagles added a lot of speed, and then they added Darius Slay as well. And then the Redskins. I think like Haskins is still like a year or two away from seriously realizing his potential. When you look at it, they're gonna be a good defensive team this year. Washington doesn't have that solid of a running game to begin with. Well, they got like Adrian Peterson in them, but and Darius Geis, but like Peterson's getting old, and then friggin' what's his name, dude? Geis has had like a torn ACL the last 2 years. So anyway, NFC East wide open.
NFC East, they each other up. It's like no matter how sucky a team is, the games are always tough for some strange reason, man.
Yeah.
It's the strongest division in football. It's always been that way.
Yeah, and then let's see. So going into like weeks 5, 6, 7, you play at Cowboys versus Washington at Philadelphia.
That's
crazy. Yeah, that's 3 divisional games right there, which I think like Anthony mentioned this stretch earlier. I think that if they can come out of this divisional stretch like if they go like 3-2, dude, in this divisional stretch, you're in contention for a playoff spot. What do you think, Anthony?
If you can pull it off, if you can go 3-2 in that stretch, then definitely. Like I said, 5 divisional games in 6 weeks. with a really tough non-divisional game in between it all against the Buccaneers with Tom Brady Monday night in MetLife Stadium. So that's a tough matchup too. Obviously, I think you look at it, you want to hope that they beat the Cowboys in AT&T Stadium. They kind of, if you're thinking about playoff contention, they need to sweep the Redskins again. They did that last year. I think they can do it again. I hope so. And then Thursday night against the Eagles, I'll say it right now, we're not going to win that game. We never do. Anytime it's a primetime game in Philadelphia, they wear their black uniforms and we die, like really badly. We just get murdered. So I'm not expecting us to win that one, though I would love it if we did. And then week 10, you got Eagles at home against the Giants. So, and you know what? Another thing about that Eagles game, that will be Daniel Jones' first time playing in Philadelphia since he didn't for the last matchup. Eli Manning was starting in that one. So I'm pretty scared about that. Thursday night is going to be his first time playing in Philadelphia. It could get ugly if we're going off of, based on history. So that's definitely one of the more prominent matchups when you look at the roster. But definitely one of those matchups that you look at and really don't like for the Giants.
Yeah, so in terms of having to travel and whatnot, I mean, October's freaking brutal because you got to factor travel in, guys. When you look at week 4, you flying from East Coast to West Coast because you're playing LA, and that's a 4:05 p.m. Eastern game, which would be 12:05 Pacific time. Your body though is gonna feel like complete trash. Then the next week you're in Dallas, right? Which is basically the halfway point, but halfway point between New York and LA. Then you're at home and you're playing Washington. Then within 4 days, you got to go ahead and you got to be on the road to Philly. So October, in terms of just not just the games, but having to travel, is a freaking brutal schedule. And the Giants straight up got screwed over. And keep in mind, this comes after a September where they already got to open up the season on a Monday night, and then on a short week have to travel to Chicago.
I'm glad you mentioned the travel because, man, I never thought about that. That really sucks for our boy, license plate guy. He's going to have a lot of really shitty traveling to do in the month of October, that poor guy. But, he's going to be at every game like always.
We got to get license plate guy on here, dude. I'm serious, man.
I would love to. Yeah, that guy's a legend.
License plate guy.
I think there's the one super fan dude for every fan base, because there's some Bears dude here who apparently I've been told lives in my area of Illinois, in the sense that he's been going to every Bears game, home or away, for the last 45 years, and they show him on TV every time too. The crews just pick him up.
Yeah, they with the Jets, the fireman Joe, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, but that guy quit, which is hilarious. Because it's so Jets for them to have all that dysfunction and have their super fan quit. Obviously, license plate guy would never quit. That guy is going to be there every game, home and away, till he dies. I know that for a fact. Love and respect the guy. I'd love to have him on the podcast.
I think he
quit.
What's that, Mike?
Remember after the Buff fumble, Mark Sanchez? I think he quit after that. Fireman Joe's I had enough of this. This dude's head.
I think that's
yeah, what was the name, dude? Friggin' if anyone here knows how to get in touch with license plate guy, hit us up in DMs because we'd love to have him on. I'm just gonna go on record and diss Mike on the pod and say this: that license plate guy is who Mike aspires to be.
Yeah, put me and him in the room together, man. It might be a little awkward, man. Now I'm the number one fan. No, I'm the number one fan. I have license plate. I'm I don't care about license plates. I'm the Giants. I don't need a bunch of license plates around my neck, even though I don't know, it's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool at the same time. I don't know what to take of it. I've always seen that guy, at every fucking game, man. He's in, DVDs I have. This guy is just there. He's always around. Go to work? What does he do?
He's
a teacher. He's a teacher.
Really? Yeah.
I believe so, yeah. And he does a lot of other stuff. But, he's also really great with the charity work that he does for the, Giants community. But in terms of the license plates, I'll never forget, some of those pictures of him with the license plates around his neck, and they go all the way down to the field because he's got so many of them around his neck. I mean, it's so awesome. I think they stopped letting them bring them into the stadiums, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty awesome.
horseshit.
I
They're,
think.
they're they're ruining a tradition, dude. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, bro.
exactly.
He's gonna have to end up in the Giants like fans Ring of Honor one day. And speaking of the Ring of Honor, guys,
He should be in the Ring of Honor, dude. He really should be. He
yeah,
deserves to
they
be.
need to make a fans Ring of Honor. I'm surprised. You know that video they put out of the schedule release? The fact that they had all those celebrities like Mike Strahan and Eli was like, "Oh, I'm on a super long bye week, etc." They didn't put license plate guy in there. That's disrespectful, man. To the to the whole organization and to your fan base. The fact that you didn't have your super fan.
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, but yeah.
they,
Oh, go ahead.
fans are fans. I mean, I'd rather see NFL players or ex Giants. I don't want to see no offense to the license plate man, but I just rather see old school Giants that I grew up with watching. I want to see them there. I want to anytime I see the Rings of Honor, it's always cool to see ex Giants there and whoever's getting inducted. It's good to see what his close friends were or that from all the teams that he played with. So I'm looking forward to Eli Manning's ring night, man. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. So November 2nd. I mean, that's like okay. So that's basically one of two primetime games that the Giants. Well, actually, they play. Like I said, they play three primetime games: two Monday nights and a Thursday night. There's no Sunday night games, which was just pretty. It was pretty stupid, but again, they don't want to see the shit teams on Sunday night football. I guarantee you, dude, NBC's behind that because, I think this team would be good on Sunday night against the Cowboys because you put the rivalry on just for the ratings, because everyone's gonna tune in.
What about Odell Beckham? That's not a primetime game, huh?
Yeah, that's not a
Yeah, that
prime
one
dude.
should have been a prime time.
That's pretty crazy. I could have sworn that would have been a Sunday night game.
Yeah, I was gonna. That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying, bro. And obviously, well, they probably anticipating the Browns are just going to be complete disappointment at that point in the season because they did the same thing this offseason, which was spend big on Hooper and Conklin in free agency in hopes it's going to shore the thing up. But then they hired Kevin Stefanski like a friggin' day after he got punched in the mouth by the 49ers, and the dude on the opposite side of the sidelines, 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. He was supposed to be in the other contention for the Browns head coaching job.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not sold on the Browns either. We'll get to them in a moment. But yeah, that Ring of Honor game is going to be, iconic because, obviously, Tom Brady's with the Bucs now. But, they're going to have to bring Eli out and the 2 Super Bowls he won. And I bet you they're going to put together, a highlight reel of, all the, just the, what was it, 14, 15 years Eli was here, right?
You think
16,
Tom
yep.
Brady? You think Tom Brady goes and kisses Eli Manning's Super Bowl rings?
No, because he's gonna be in the locker room, figuring out what to do. I'll say this though, dude. And this is what's stupid about ESPN is every time a player's because I watch every Sunday, Monday, Thursday night game, right? Every time a specific player is getting into the Ring of Honor, being honored because they got into the Hall of Fame that past summer. ESPN never shows it, and it's always ESPN that does it, and it's trash.
You're right. You're 100% right, man. I always have to watch interviews
the
or
replay on YouTube.
Yeah, it's fucking bull. You're right, man. It is bullshit.
If you're new listening to this, we want you to know we're unfiltered on here, so
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to be there for that night. I have to go.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say because I live in Florida, but I mean, if they're gonna induct him on that Monday night game against the Buccaneers, I'm gonna try my absolute hardest to get up to that game. I'll get a plane ticket and I'll make sure that I'm at that game. I want to see the Ring of Honor.
Hop on this Tampa Bay Bucs plane. Just hop on them. Say you're part of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers media, or you're a wireless. Hop on there.
Yeah, and you don't have to save. You wouldn't have to do anything for hotels, dude. Because you stay at Mike's place.
Yeah, man. Come on.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that works for me.
We'll get some women over. It'll be fucking fine.
Yes, sir. Beer Olympics, baby.
Okay, but but back to my original point. Like, if you're gonna be watching that game at home, it's gonna freaking suck. And those, those tickets are gonna be expensive, dude. One,
Sure.
because it's Monday night. Two, because it's Tom Brady coming to town. And three, because they are gonna. I anticipate them announcing like pretty soon that Eli's gonna get into the. They're gonna induct him into the Ring of Honor, and you know it's gonna completely suck, bro. Because like all the people that are gonna be paying like money to go see the game, and all the people that aren't gonna get to see it are gonna miss out on the induction ceremony because we're gonna have to listen to like freaking the ESPN crew talk about like, oh well, this is what's going down at half, and this is like the news from around the league. Like, these Ring of Induction ceremonies only happen like 3 or 4 times a year on ESPN. Can we please not see the goddamn like what's going on around the league at halftime? Because like no one cares about that because your 3-hour pregame shows about that ESPN.
That's true. Yeah, they definitely should have the Ring of Honor on TV. I really don't understand why I'd have to go on my phone and go on YouTube to find it, but I won't have to because I'm going to make sure that I'm at that game when Eli gets inducted. I'm really excited.
Tickets are going to be crazy expensive because you know how many Tom Brady fans come down from New England on 95 and they're just going to go to Giant Stadium just to watch him? That's what's going to happen. Giant fans, sell your tickets to New England fans.
Yo, I'm serious when I say this, right? Getting stuck in traffic, because I've been in the East Coast, so I grew up on the East Coast some of my life, dude. Getting stuck on the 95 and having to drive up to, like, Boston, bro, and, like, Connecticut and all those other irrelevant states, it friggin' sucks, dude. So, like, you know, if you're coming into New York from the game, man, just make sure you get there early, because, like, the stadium, MetLife's on the New Jersey Turnpike, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, turnpike traffic is the worst, man. I'm serious. And this is for our listeners that may be like scattered all over the United States. We're here to give you guys game day tips too. But like moving on, so okay. You have so you're playing the Bucks on Monday night, and then 6 days later, shit, that's another short week, dude. We got screwed over again with the travel because then like 6 days later you gotta play the Redskins. And then after that, like 7 days later, you gotta play the Eagles. Then you go on a bye. And then you travel to Cincinnati, and then again to the West Coast for Seattle. So, like, overall, dude, travel's not ideal, but, like, between this, like, I think they're going to lose a Tampa Bay game, personally. What do you guys think?
You know what
I think they're going to win that one just because I think it's going to be the Eli induction game, and they're going to be so amped up, and they're going to figure out a way to do it. Plus, Daniel Jones seemed to play pretty good against Tampa Bay last year, and I think he'll repeat his success.
Yeah, but, like,
so I'm going to be an optimist on this one, surprisingly.
Bro, here's the difference, though, is that was a bad Buccaneers team, like, with Jameis Winston. This is a completely new team, with the biggest difference on offense being the quarterback.
Defense is the same, though. Daniel Jones is still going to carve it up.
Yeah, but, like, who's the defensive coordinator in Tampa? Todd Bowles, right?
Mm-hmm. And Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is a really good coach. Daniel Jones carved him up. He's going to do it again.
Yeah, but this is
going to be about Tom Brady, but the Giants had to beat Tom Brady.
Yep.
Yeah, true. Twice. How many times did they beat him? Bro, wasn't it
Move on. You know what I think.
Yeah, he's gonna come out and be like they're gonna win like 46-9, dude. Which I think
they won't kick 3 field goals against us.
No, but I will say this: by like the first week of November, you have a good idea of like the way your team is going. So really, you know, I think that like we'll have a pretty by the time that week 8 game rolls around, we should have a good idea of like what direction this team's gonna go in. And then like so I mean we already discussed Washington and Philly. I think that those could be some easy wins. You get the bye week from November 16th to the 28th basically is your bye week. That's a good bye week right there because in case this team does like manage to get out of the divisional stretch like 3-2 or something, you basically get all your guys back for the for like all the rest that's going to occur for the playoff run. So you have a bye in week 11. Then you have 2 road games against Cincinnati and the Seattle Seahawks. I think, seriously, the Bengals are going to end up being the second worst team again in the NFL. Behind the Jags.
Yeah, they don't got much. You know what I mean? Burrow's a young guy. I mean, he might be good, but I don't think he's that great to elevate that team like tremendously. They got nothing.
So like since he's go ahead, Anthony.
I think the Bengals will be like bad, but I think they'll win like 4 games. I don't think they'll be like catastrophically bad. 4 or 5 games, maybe even 6. I think they'll be decent. I think Zach Taylor year 2 and Joe Burrow now. I think Joe Burrow is the real deal. So I think the other game that you mentioned, the Seahawks game, that's the really tough one that you can almost chalk up as a loss already over at CenturyLink. That's a real tough one.
Yeah, and I'll say, dude, you know what my biggest fear is? So, like, okay, you have Seattle, Arizona, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Dallas. And my biggest fear is that, like, by the time the Giants play Seattle, they're either going to be in playoff contention and in the hunt, or they're going to be totally out of it. And I think that, like, a loss to Seattle is going to kick them out of the playoff race completely. Because we've seen, like, there's far better teams right now than the Giants. I think we can all agree on that. But like the reality of it is, yeah. Well, Mike BS is a lot, dude. I was talking to G Stelio, dude, of the Bears Brawl about some new rap music. Okay, and then obviously I heard a funny story about Mike in Nashville last year.
What's that?
Uh-oh.
It was asking G like, yo, they're like, oh, we had to save Mike from like jumping off a ledge. This was in the mentions a couple weeks ago, right?
Oh, when the Giants drafted Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
If you go back to that date and you look at all the pictures, I'm celebrating like a maniac, hammered in the rain. I'm yelling at people, "We got Daniel Jones! We got Daniel Jones!" They didn't want to hear it. Some of the people at the top of the bar on the rooftop, they didn't even know who Daniel Jones was. I'm screaming at them. There's pictures of me next to the Bud Light Knight. I'll have his arm around. I'm like, "We got Daniel Jones, man!" Like I was thrilled we got him because I knew there was other teams, especially the Washington Redskins, that wanted Daniel Jones desperately, and we got him ahead of him. So we made the right pick. I'm telling you, when we have a lot of rings, whatever. I'm gonna go back to G. I'm gonna be like, oh, remember the time? Like I was celebrating that pick. Now I got too many rings. Ring. So listen, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay.
Yeah, so Mike, what are your kind of thoughts on that Week 13 game in CenturyLink against the Seahawks?
Dude, that's tough, man. I tell you, going to Seattle, that's on my bucket list. I would love to go see a football game in Seattle, and this might be the year that hopefully they're allowing fans in. That I would really want to go get a group of guys to go up there, check out that game. I've never been to the West Coast, that far. I've been to Vegas. That's the furthest I went. So Seattle would be like really fun to see, man, because their fans go ape shit, like they go crazy in that stadium, and they always have a good team. So we'd like to see
them. Yo, what the hell is that?
I live close to a train track, so I guess that's what you're hearing.
Bro,
it's super annoying. Sometimes it's really loud when I'm trying to go to sleep at night. It kind of sucks, but
yeah, dude, I live I want to say a mile from the train, like a train tracks in my part of Illinois, and it's super fucked up, right? Because like dude, I would be driving to class, right, and I would be like, all right, I'm gonna leave at like this time, just because I know like if I leave like 5 minutes later, I'm gonna get hit with the freaking train, and I don't want to wait, dude, because like I will sometimes roll the freaking window down and start yelling at people to like move the goddamn car, bro.
Maybe that's a sign. I got to take the train to Seattle to watch the Giants, man. That could be it. I got to get hammered on the train.
And
sounds like a blast.
To Seattle. Like, have you guys been to any other stadium besides like MetLife or Florida or Chicago? Anywhere else?
Dude,
I've been to both of the Florida ones. I haven't been to Jacksonville. I've been to Tampa, Miami, and MetLife, and I went to the old Giants Stadium. So I've been to 4 stadiums.
What about you?
Nah, I've only been to Soldier Field, dude.
Really?
The thing is, yeah.
Oh, no road games.
Bro, well, you see, Chicago's it's right in the middle of the thing, and obviously, like, I wouldn't want to travel all the way to freaking Minnesota for a game because, like, Vikings fans are just dumbasses, and then, like, obviously, Detroit fans are delusional. Indy's like 3 hours away, but then the Bears only play them like once every 4 years. Now I could go up to Lambeau Field, dude, but like if you've seen Lambeau Field, right, it's got the worst freaking seats ever because like those like metal bleachers that you would freeze your ass off in high school. like watching football on Friday. That is what they have at Lambeau, dude. So
Yeah.
you literally got to take like a blanket, and your butt's still gonna be cold. That's why Lambeau is the worst stadium. Like it's historic, but the seating sucks, man.
And the hotels are like 3 miles away, so you got to like pretty much walk there in like blizzards to like go to the game. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go there
Uber
either.
everywhere.
Yeah, dude. I heard there's like one Starbucks in up in Green Bay, and it's so dumb because like wherever you go, you pass that Starbucks. So like the whole town just like cramps into one Starbucks, and then wherever you go, you gotta pass Lambeau Field, dude. Like that's what it is.
That's a weird fucking town, man.
It is, dude, and there's nothing to do. Our own Mike Brez, who's like the president of the Brawl Network, I mean, he's been up to Lambeau, dude. He says it's just a freaking frozen wasteland.
Well, that's because he's.
I'll say the Dolphin Stadium is pretty awesome.
Yeah, because they got money in Miami. They got money to invest in Miami, dude, which is why like the South has these nicer stadiums.
Well, I'll also say it used to not be as nice, but they added all that covering, that awning over it. So now it's not like, because I know you guys might not understand how hot it gets in Florida and how humid it is. So having some shade when you're at a football game is like really glorious. Like when I went over the Tampa game this year with Daniel Jones' first start, and sometime around like the right near halftime, the sun was just killing us, and it was so painful to just be sitting in that heat. And then halftime happened, whatever. But when you're in Miami, you don't really have to deal with that because they put these huge coverings over all the seats, and you get really nice shade now. And they didn't always have that. So it used to be hot as hell there, and it still is, but now it's like you're not getting killed by the sun anymore. It's just the humidity. So that's really nice. And I toured that stadium once. I got to walk on the field. That was pretty cool. It was a really nice place.
So while we got our like little convo about stadiums going on, I'm looking at like the last four. So you have Arizona, Cleveland at home. I know everyone's kind of overhyping Arizona up this year because like they got
Simmons.
who do they? Yeah, dude, they got Simmons, they got DeAndre Hopkins. So
they're gonna be nice, man. They're good, and they got Josh Jones. Okay, that's the one pick that we didn't talk about after the draft that we really should have. Josh Jones at what was it, 77?
Right.
How the hell did that even happen? He was like a first-round talent in my eyes.
Because of an injury? Is that what it was?
No, it wasn't an injury. He just fell. Like no explanation. It just happened.
Bro, the dude from who was the dude from the Prince guy from Auburn, right? That somewhere where we were saying he could be a possible second round. Yeah, he fell to like what, round 7, right? That just means every year, dude. Yeah, and Cole McDonald too. Everyone had like a friggin' 4th round quarterback went in the 7th round. Who's my personal pick if we were gonna have a young guy to develop, because the Patriot way. But yeah, so like I think Arizona, depending on how their season goes, like they still have some holes. Now they run like 90 bajillion plays a game, so that's gonna be a fast-paced game that you're gonna have to keep up with. I don't think Arizona's on the level of like Seattle right now. I think the NFC West is theirs to lose. And then obviously Cleveland right now, man, that's Baltimore's division to lose. I think Cleveland could be a complete dumpster fire by then, and they're probably going to trade Odell in 2021. It's Baker's last year to prove himself. And then, yeah, Baltimore's like the toughest game on the schedule because it's not easy playing in M&T Bank Stadium. And I think that if like Lamar Jackson takes the next step this year as a passer, they could seriously make it all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I think they're my pick for the Super Bowl this year. But we'll see. It's early. But they're my pick right now.
They can make it. I mean, about the time the Giants have to play Cleveland, it's week 15, you said? That they have to play?
Yeah, so they play Cleveland week 15, and then they play Baltimore week 16.
All right, so Odell will be hurt by then, so we won't even see him in MetLife. He'll be on like the sidelines. The guy's always hurt. So Baltimore, they might not even have to play, but have to play their starters by then. Play them.
I'll say this.
That good. They're that good.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they are.
The Ravens are. I don't care what you say. They're like probably the best run organization in American sports right now. Like
I think so. I think their management is incredible.
Yeah, dude, who's the?
I agree.
I will say this though regarding the Ravens though is they were so scheme friendly for Lamar last year you saw when teams started getting after Lamar Jackson with their good front seven that he was kind of like breaking down and he just wasn't able to like operate at that high of a level. I think that if teams figure out a way to crack Lamar Jackson this year, then there's seriously a chance that like the Ravens are not as dominant as we think, and I think the AFC North could go to the Steelers. But right now, the Ravens are my pick to win the AFC North. Yeah, we'll see, dude. I swear, there's so many things I say, dude, and then people are like, "Oh no, you're wrong," and then like 3 months later, I end up being right again.
All right, AFC North. And who do you think is going to win AFC North?
I'm picking the Ravens.
The Ravens.
I'm picking the Ravens. I'm picking the Ravens. But if someone cracks Lamar Jackson and that entire scheme, because you saw it happening at times last year, stop shaking your head, dude.
Okay, but you're saying this like as if so sure they crack the Lamar Jackson scheme, right? And like okay, like the Ravens coaching staff isn't good enough to come up with a new scheme overnight like they can. But B, you're saying like they might not win the division if that happens. Like you're not going to tell me that Ben Roethlisberger with half of an arm is going to win the division, and you're not going to tell me that the Browns with all of their dysfunction is going to beat out the Ravens either, and definitely not the Bengals. So they're going to win the division. It's just whether or not they're going to be the Super Bowl contenders that we think they are. That's the question. They're going to win that division, dude. I'll go on. I'll put money on that. I'll go on the record. If the Ravens don't win the division this year, I'll do something stupid for you guys. They're winning that division. There's no way that Ben Roethlisberger and his broken shoulder or elbow or whatever it is are going to beat out Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
I think Pittsburgh is going to be the one team that just falls apart. They might be the last.
I have that feeling too.
I think they might be finally done because they're always good, and these injuries just mount up. They don't really have that great running game anymore. They're wide receivers. They got Juju. That's pretty much it. Maybe Washington, and then their defense. Like, okay, the defense always plays good because of TJ, but I mean that's about it, man. I think they're going downhill, and they're going downhill fast.
I'll say that. No, do they have a decent defense? It's not as dominant as like it used to be, but they got like TJ Watt, Bud Dupree. Obviously, it's a pretty good. Yeah, I was gonna say Minkah Fitzpatrick, dude. Like if you think of it, that defense came together last year as soon as they traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. You know, in week 3, it's a good defense, and Mike Tomlin's always gonna get like a respectable football team. But like I said, dude, that AFC North still right now, I think like it's gonna be either if Big Ben returns and is like 100% healthy, like 2016, 2017 Big Ben. I think they see this is ridiculous. He is old, dude, but like still, I think he's healthy, right? He can still dude, freaking Big Ben with half an arm, combined with that decent defense is going to be enough to get them to at least the playoffs.
I'll tell you what, he's going to have to shave that beard before the season if he wants to be good.
Yeah, because he's looking like
a problem. It's fucking down. Well, tackle him around the fucking stomach.
Exactly. You can tackle from him. You can rip him down by that. Plus, he's going to have his helmet on wrong, and then he's going to get a concussion because his helmet won't fit to his head because of his giant beard.
Well, no, he said he's not shaving, dude, until like he can throw the ball. So
you might not even be ready for the first game. Who the hell knows?
Dude, that's what I'm.
Yeah, well, really.
Team should be back in OTs.
Saying that the Steelers have a chance to win in the division.
Anything's possible, genius.
What, are you saying they have a chance to division with their racist backup quarterback? Is that?
I don't know, dude, but I don't know, man. Okay, Mason Rudolph was garbage, dude, and everyone last year that was saying, oh well, like Juju fell off as a result and whatnot. He fell off more so because of shit quarterback play, not because of like Juju's just not that good.
Yo, bring Juju over to New York.
See, okay, that's what I wanted to bring up too, real quick before we get on to the rest of the schedule. Like, there's so many fans who are like, trade for Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm totally not in that. Don't do that. Why would you give up assets for that? Like, he's just an extremely good slot receiver who can play outside, but he's mainly a slot receiver. Like, find that outside receiver. Don't give up assets for another slot receiver that you have to pay big money to in a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, get somebody in the draft.
Yeah, we're good at wide receiver, I think. As long as we stay healthy, I think we're fine. I don't think we're
good at wide receiver, but I don't think Juju Smith-Schuster is the answer.
Well, wait till the other two USC guys that we got. as undrafted free agents. Wait till one of these step up. Maybe Victor steps up. Oh, Max steps up. Like, you never know, man. They're wide receivers. You get paid to catch a football. As long as you understand where to get to the spot and, learn your routes, that's really it. I mean, a wide receiver could be great as long as you understand your playbook.
Yeah, and there's so many different types of wide receivers. So you got the ones that obviously like people just break them down into like, your X receiver, your Y receiver. There's your slot receivers too. Like your X are the ones that are playing outside. You gotta have some of these guys that are playing off the line of scrimmage. Some of them that are playing on the line of scrimmage. I think like right now, man, our X would technically be Darius Slayton, but you got to see someone else step up. And like don't trade for Juju because he's gonna be a free agent next year. And here's what would happen, dude. If Dave Gettleman got on the phone with Kevin Colbert and traded for Juju Smith-Schuster, because this is the debate, like Anthony said, going on Giants fan base. You know what it would be, and Mike knows where I'm going with this. It would be Leonard Williams 2.0 is what it would be. It would be like, yo, why would... What up?
A 3rd and a 5 for Juju right now. Let's do it.
There's a strong draft class coming up in 2021 of wide receivers and like tight ends. So you can just...
The worst part is that you'd have to pay him instantly. And you could have just paid him in free agency. That's the dumbest part about it. And that's the Leonard Williams problem. Like, why trade for him if you could just negotiate a deal in free agency?
Because Joe Douglas was probably going to lock him up, dude.
I didn't think the Giants were going to get him in free agency. I think that's why I think it was a good trade, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, we're like months past it now. I know someone's...
I can't wait to get a Leonard Williams jersey, man. I can't wait to... He's going to have like 15 sacks next year. People are going to go nuts.
Yeah, and then we're
going
to be like...
I hope he does. I just don't see that happening.
Yo, didn't we mention it back in February, that he was going to go off in 2020? I mean, that's my prediction as well.
It does come true.
Yeah, because, again, they listen to the pizza gift. They listen to us about the offensive line. Maybe Leonard Williams listens to this, dude.
Hey, we got to get him on. Get him on next week. Him and Jules.
I'll see, dude.
Got to get him and Jules on next week.
All right, and then obviously, so 2 days after Christmas, they're in Baltimore for the Ravens game. And then they wrap it up on January 3rd against the Dallas Cowboys at MetLife Stadium. Yeah, so that Week 17 game for the NFC is just interesting in general because I know it's all divisional games across the spectrum for the NFL that week. But, I think that could very well be the one week where the NFC East, like, divisional or the division champion is decided. And, like, if this team is at the point where, like, they're, like, 8-7 or something, I think, 9 wins is going to be enough to get them in over another team in the NFC that could win, 10 or 11 games. Because those division winners are always going to get in first.
Dude, that could come down to the the marble, especially Joe Judge, Garrett, his ex-team. It just seems like that could be, the script coming down to the final game. I don't know. I mean, we'll see when we get there, but I just I hate the Cowboys. I know they're going to be decent. I know it's going to be a tough game because all the division games are. I mean, like I said, we'll see when we get there.
If it's Giants versus Cowboys between the two to win the division final week of the season, I'll bet that we win that just based on history because history likes to repeat itself. Victor Cruz, I'm sure we all remember that one, 2011 season. That was a nice one when the Giants won that and went to the playoffs. So I don't know, though. Like I said, I think we're a 6-10 team this year with potential to grow past that next year. But that's going to be a really nice matchup. Hopefully, I'm actually invested in it because the last few years, Week 17, I kind of pay a lot less attention to that game than I do all the other games because we're eliminated from the playoffs and we're playing a division opponent who's blowing us out. That's happened, I think, each of the last 2 years. Last year was the Eagles. They blew us out. And the year before that, I think it was the Cowboys who blew us out. So hopefully we're not out of it and getting blown out at that point. That's all I want to see. I just want to see that maybe there's a chance and we don't get blown out. That's what I want from Week 17.
Yeah, for the I just observed this. I know that's a 12 o'clock game, but like the last couple of years they have flexed some of these like teams that are on the playoff bubble into Sunday night for the TV money, obviously. I think that's a game that you could potentially see being a Sunday night game. And then I just want to know real quick because we're talking about division winners. Philly's actually playing Dallas in Week 16, so that's one where if the Giants are out of it, you already know then that the NFC East division winner is going to be decided 2 days after Christmas, which means that January 3rd game at MetLife is going to be pretty much freaking worthless at that point.
I mean, it could be. I mean, like I said, we don't know until we get there. These division games are, they're tough, man. It could go either way. I mean, I just hoping we go at least, I hope we go maybe a game over 500 against the division. Then I'll be happy because then we'll be in the hunt.
Definitely. I also just want to point out, you said 12 o'clock games, and it's like the first time I've ever heard somebody say that in a sentence. I forgot that you live in Central, and now I'm just thinking about it. There's people on the West Coast who watch football at like 9 o'clock in the morning some weekends. I just could never, right? Isn't that it? You go 1, 12, 11, 10 o'clock in the mornings, they kick off. I could never imagine that. That's so strange to me. It's always 1 o'clock and after on the East Coast.
I can't imagine starting to drink it at 6 a.m. before and then wait for 9 o'clock. I'm gonna have to get hammered and then have my Cheerios at 8:45 and then wait for the Giants to start. Thank God I live on the East Coast. I could screw that. I'm never going. I'm not going to Seattle. It's retarded.
Yeah, well, dude, they for the that's the weird thing. I've gotten so used to just being Central Time, man, Central Time. That's it. Because I go back to the East Coast probably once a year now, for once a day. I mean, the last time I was there in freaking Valentine's Day weekend, I was in New York, right? And my Lyft driver was a freaking Jets fan, so he just would not stop trashing the Giants. And I'm like, bro, I record a Giants podcast, so I'll bring you on sometime if you want to discuss the the state of the Jets with us.
He should have cut his brakes if he was a Jet fan after you got out the lift.
Yeah, I should have. It was 2 in the morning, dude. That's the thing.
Man, how can you be a Jet fan? I don't understand. Like the people that live in New York, it's weird. I grew up Giants, Yankees. I don't understand how you could be a Met fan.
Poverty Knicks.
Or an Islander fan. I like the Rangers. What's the matter with you people? Did you grow up in a bad you have a bad childhood? I don't understand.
Aren't there certain boroughs that lean more towards one team than the other? I know obviously in the Bronx you're a Yankees fan and elsewhere you're a Mets fan, but is it like that at all with the Giants and Jets? I feel like it is a little bit, right?
I don't know. It's because it's weird. They both play in New Jersey, which is
right.
Kind of weird to begin with.
Yeah, it's right over to George Washington. The Turnpike, dude, leads into the George Washington Bridge, right?
Yeah, but I don't understand. What have you grown up unless you're really old and love Joe Namath? What have you been proud of? Ken O'Brien?
Well,
what else?
Well, they went to the 2 AFC Championship games in 2009 and 10, right? Yeah. So
they have a quarterback back then.
They were close.
Mark Sanchez.
Sanchez was decent for 3 years, but they just never put it all together. They faced Peyton. It's kind of that's a tough task to beat Peyton in the conference championship.
Yeah, I mean they lost to Eli's brother. Let's say that we don't say Peyton. We say Eli's brother. You know what I mean?
Right. They lost to Eli's worst brother.
He lost to the Manning family. We get it. We understand. We know how that goes. Maybe Mark will talk to Peyton Manning. Talk to Tom Brady and let him know. Maybe they could sort it out.
Yeah. Bro, I think they decided to build a stadium in New Jersey because they're yo, we don't have any land in New York. Because New York, dude, as congested as it is, what the hell are you gonna do? Build the damn freaking new stadium in Times Square or whatever?
That'd be dope. That'd be fucking dope.
That would be dope.
Bro, you know how expensive that would be
down there? Oh, that'd be fucking fantastic.
Okay, it would be so dope to be in that stadium in the middle of Times Square, but you know how undope it would be to try and park and go to that stadium. It would literally be hell trying to get to that stadium. You'd be like fighting people just to walk to the stadium.
Shit.
If it was actually in the city, you know, like even anywhere in the city. Like I really wish the Giant Stadium was in New York, somewhere in the city, but it's just impossible. You know what I mean?
Dude, you do not want a stadium to be right in the middle of a city. Because trust me, listen, every time I go, to the Bears games on Sundays, I gotta leave. I'm with the press, right? So like, I could theoretically just leave like 2 hours before the game, get there, grab breakfast, and like sit in the press box. But no, dude, I gotta leave probably like 3 or 4 hours early, just because of all the traffic, bro. Because like, you go on the I-290, dude, in Chicago on Sunday morning. I could take the train into the city, but I don't want to do that because then I gotta walk. So I just take the car, dude, and it's freaking hell, bro. And then leaving the stadium's just like another mess itself because I can't leave like until all the other freaking fans have left. And like at that point, dude, security's like kicking people out of the stadium.
And they want you to get out. Well, the Giants did play in the Bronx. They played at Yankee Stadium for like a minute.
Right.
You know what I mean? That might be pretty cool if they played like 1 or 2 games there. Change
It would be cool.
like how they do it like in hockey. In hockey they play at like baseball stadiums for some reason, like when it's wintertime. I never got that. They're outside playing hockey. I mean, it's weird. But like Giant game going to like the Yankee Stadium, that'd be pretty fucking awesome, man. That'd be pretty cool to see. Like, reminisce, go back in time.
That would be cool.
Bring back the old jerseys during those games. Playing in that building, I mean, I think the fans would get a kick out of that.
Yeah, now that you said it right, bro. Now that you said it right, so like, okay, so 2020 is going to be the Giants' 96th season, which means that like what 2024 should be the 100th season. Right? I guarantee you they should probably going to end up doing that for the 100th season, and then I'll pull this episode up from 4 years ago and be like, hey, we called it.
Damn right, man.
Yeah.
We want credit.
I wonder when we're going to get new uniforms. You think they'd hold off until the 100th season to do it? Because I feel like it's going to happen soon. I feel like a lot of the fan base is really calling for the new uniforms. And especially for like the throwback uniforms, everybody wants to see some throwback uniforms. So I wonder when it's going to happen. Maybe they will just wait until that 100th season and like usher in the new century of Giants football with new uniforms. That makes sense.
Yeah, the Bears got the freaking dopest 1936 throwbacks, dude.
Those were dope.
Oh, come on. The Bears. The Bears.
Yeah. Still free. No, dude, those, whether you're a Bears fan or not, like, you gotta admit, those are pretty nice uniforms.
Yeah,
not as nice as the Giants, but yeah.
Right. A lot of NFL teams got these good, really cool old school uniforms, man. They got to start bringing those fucking things back, man. I think they got a little too crazy the past, 10, 15 years.
Well, sometimes it's good to pay homage to your history,
Right.
Because, obviously, I'll be real, I'm a fan of bringing the old uniforms back and just using those. Because, some of these new uniforms you see coming out, like the Rams, they're supposed to get new uniforms. And obviously the new logos are absolute garbage, so.
Looks like a penis. It literally looks like a penis. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that. If you look at the uniform and you stare at it for a minute, you're like, Jesus Christ! I can't watch this.
Okay, I don't know what Mike sees, so
Mike,
no,
I know what you saw. It's fake. It's not real.
It's not real.
It's not actually their. No, their only logo is the LA with the horn thing. The one that actually has a ram in it, it's not real. They don't actually use that.
Because I see that on complete. Twitter's real.
Exactly. It's a complete joke, and everybody falls for that. They actually purposely put a penis in there, and it got you. You thought it was real. It happened to so many people.
Yeah, dude, it
got. Oh my god.
It fooled me for the first, no joke, for 2 days. I was like, holy shit. I'm like, is that really it? I'm like, what are they doing to themselves? I'm like, man.
The Los Angeles penises. That's them.
Bro, pause. All right, guys. So we hit the 1 hour. We hit the 1 hour mark, right? So we're gonna get out of here. We'll be back next week. Obviously, Jules is gonna be on. It's my fault for him not coming on today. It's I texted Mike 2 hours before we were supposed to record. Yo, get Jules on, and then where the hell's he at, dude?
The The fans want him on, man. Who knows what Jules does? I never know what that guy does. He could be out and about. I don't know why he's out of his house right now. We're in quarantine. We got to talk about him. We don't want him to spread the virus next week on us.
Yeah, he's going to virtually transmit the virus, dude?
He could.
Oh my god. Yeah,
It's a new virus. You never know what it's going to mutate into.
Yeah, I gotta go on a radio show in New York next week, dude. So watch out for me, guys. Well, you know Mike Lindsley, right? He's like, so he runs some like podcast, bro, whatever radio show. So I'm gonna be on his show next week. Yeah,
Right.
Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what we're gonna be discussing, but for now, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Follow me on Twitter at Usaid Coach. Follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Trainer MFT. Follow Anthony on Twitter and check out his work on Empire Sports Media at Anthony_Rivardo. Turn on tweet notifications for us at Giants Brawl, guys, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We do thank you guys for all the support. The accounts have really grown over the last couple weeks. Some weird dude messages me on Instagram all the time and is like, yo, like my content, and I'm like, hell no. I'm not trying to like a dude's content, obviously. That's awkward, but yeah, guys, we're gonna get out of here. We'll be back next week, which is like 5/20, I think. 5/20/2020. See you guys.